Preview season is finally back here on Steelers Talk, and today it's my first Steelers game preview of the 2025 regular season. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers prepare to take on Justin Fields and the New York Jets in the season opener on Sunday, where you guys can join us for our live watch party. We have the largest Steelers watch parties anywhere on YouTube, and this is really the bread and butter of our channel, guys. We go live an hour and a half before every single Steelers game, extensive pregame coverage followed by live play-by-play coverage. Every single play we cover on this channel live, and then we go into our extensive post-game coverage. So we're going to be starting at 11:30 a.m. Eastern here on Sunday to kick off the NFL regular season. Aaron Rodgers versus Justin Fields, Steelers versus Jets. It's going to be a great time, guys. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we're going to be putting out a preview. We're going to be having a live watch party, and we'll have post-game reactions to every single Steelers game this year. So if you guys want pre, during, and post-game coverage for every single Steelers game this year, make sure you guys click that subscribe button to never miss a moment. All right, so now let's get into this matchup here, guys, where the New York Jets will be the opponent here in Week 1 at JetLife Stadium, as Aaron Rodgers used to call his former home stadium. And obviously the big storyline heading into this Week 1 matchup, guys, in East Rutherford is the quarterbacks here. Aaron Rodgers, Justin Fields. Each of these guys started Week 1, but for the opposing teams. Justin Fields was the Week 1 starter for the Steelers last year when Russell Wilson was still dealing with his calf injury. And then Aaron Rodgers, of course, started Week 1 for the New York Jets. This is the first time in NFL history where two players that started for the other team the previous season, Week 1, are playing against each other for their new team the following season in Week 1. So it's definitely a historic matchup here, a double revenge game opportunity. You better believe, despite what Justin, what Aaron are going to tell you in the media this week, they want to win this game so bad, and they want to stick it to their former teams, especially Aaron Rodgers, who has aired out his grievances publicly with Aaron Glenn, the new New York Jets head coach, all those different things. And I'm sure Justin Fields, after going 4-2 as this team's starter last year, then getting benched, then not being brought back, certainly wants to get a win versus his former team as well to kick off his 2025 campaign. Now, before we get into kind of the Jets breakdown, their roster, their scheme, and then keys to victory, as well as my score prediction coming up later in today's show, let's talk about some injury updates here. Derek Carman, the rookie out of Oregon, the defensive tackle for Pittsburgh, will be out this week with that knee injury that he suffered in the final week of the preseason. So look for fellow rookie out of Iowa, Y.A. Black, to step up in his role. Now, Mike Tomlin did say in his press conference earlier this week that to expect Isaiah Loudermilk, Daniel Ekuale, and more to kind of be a committee to replace Derek Carman's starting role in this Steelers defensive line. But that's kind of standard practice. Even if Derek was playing, we probably would have expected to see Ekuale, Black, Loudermilk, all those guys get in the rotation because the Steelers are trying to keep their guys, especially an aging Cam Hayward, fresh throughout the 2025 season. Also, Alijah Vera-Tucker, the starting right guard for the New York Jets, will be out with a torn tricep. I mean, it's going to actually take him out for the entire season, so that sucks for him and for them, but he will not be out there either, so that's a big blow to the Jets' offensive line. Another injury to keep your eye on here, Sauce Gardner, the cornerback for the Jets, is questionable with a fibula injury. At the time of me recording this video, he has only been limited in practices to this point. He's going to be tasked with going up against DK Metcalf. And then some other players to keep your eye on this week here, guys. Nick Herbig with a hamstring injury. He's currently been limited in practices, but he was playing in pads today at UPMC. Sports complex there in Southside Pittsburgh. And then Cam Hayward has hinted at the idea of him not playing this weekend because he's still trying to get that pay raise from the Pittsburgh Steelers that he's been trying to get over the last few weeks. But he has been fully practicing for the last several weeks, including today in Pittsburgh. So it's certainly looking like Cam Hayward is going to be playing here in Week 1 with or without that pay raise given by the organization. So now let's transition here to the coaching and scheme breakdown for the New York Jets. Aaron Glenn, brand new head coach, just kind of like last year where Raheem Morris had a little bit more head coaching experience than Glenn does heading into this one, but he was a first-time full-time head coach here with a new organization with the Atlanta Falcons last year. This year, of course, it's the Jets. But on offense, they're going to run a modern pro-style offense, kind of in the light of a Ben Johnson kind of inspired offense. Tanner Engstrand, their new offensive play caller there in New York, was Johnson's right-hand man there in Detroit. So they are going to try and really establish that run game. And then on defense, they run a multiple front, bump and run, aggressive man coverage style of defense. That's what they ran there in Detroit. And, I think Aaron Glenn's one of the best run defense coaches in the National Football League. Now, the passing game has certainly been his weakness as a coach over the last several seasons, but Steve Wilks is going to be the defensive play caller for the Jets. Glenn will not be calling the defensive plays. Then you take a look here at the Jets offense heading into this year. You do have Justin Fields as their starting quarterback heading into the year. And then on the offensive line, you got Olu Fashanu, the Penn State offensive tackle that they took in round 1 2 years ago. He's going to be expected to take a big year 2 leap, especially with Alijah Vera-Tucker out for the season. John Simpson, a really good season last year with the Baltimore Ravens. He's hoping, and the team is hoping, that he can step up big time as their new left guard. Then you got Josh Myers, who we are expecting to be starting at center, with Joe Tippman, who was slated to be their center, moving over to right guard with the Alijah Vera-Tucker injury. Then you got another first-round rookie, this time out of Mizzou in this year's NFL draft, Armand Membou as the starting right tackle. He'll be tasked with going up against T.J. Watt. Then at the skill positions, they got Garrett Wilson and Josh Myers are probably the 2 top receivers that you'll see. Allen Lazard is another guy that you'll see out there for the New York Jets in terms of the wide receiver core. Then at running back, they have Breece Hall and Braelon Allen. I expect those two to share quite a bit. I think Allen is going to take on a larger role than what he had last year in this Jets offense. Kind of that Sonic and Knuckles type of situation there, with Braelon Allen taking on the David Montgomery role, with Breece Hall taking on that Jahmyr Gibbs role in this offense. Then Maason Taylor, a rookie tight end out of LSU. He's gotten rave reviews out of training camp there in New York. He's expected to be their starter. Then on defense, I do think that we're going to see a lot of 5-man fronts, maybe even some 6-man fronts from the New York Jets this weekend to try and limit pretty much the 6-man blocking front that the Steelers are going to be presenting, with Darnell Washington at tight end. But unfortunately, I don't know if they have the size. Will McDonald is one of the worst run-defending edge rushers in the National Football League. He's a menace on the outside as a pass rusher, but severely undersized. Then you've got Quinnen Williams, who's a beast. Then you got Harrison Phillips, who's a beast as a run defender, so no concerns there. But then Michael Clemens is going to be asked to probably play 5 technique, which is a 3-4 defensive end alignment, at like 265 pounds. That's really underweight for somebody of that position. And then Jermaine Johnson will be the other outside linebacker type for this Jets defense this weekend. Then you got Quincy Williams and Jamien Sherwood, highly paid, very well compensated, very athletic and fast linebacker duo here. They can fly around the field, and both guys have sideline-to-sideline speed, and he fits what Aaron Glenn wants out of these linebackers to a T. That's why they brought back Sherwood on a big contract. Then you get to the secondary here. You got Sauce Gardner. If he plays, he will be the number 1 guy, and he will be traveling with DK Metcalf. You got Michael Carter, the second, really good number 2 corner. In their base formations, he'll play outside. In their nickel sets, he'll play in the slot. Andre Sisco, a new free safety for them. And then Tony Adams will be their strong safety. And then Brandon Stevens, who the Steelers are very familiar with his time in Baltimore, will be the guy that comes in as their second outside corner in their nickel formations. So still to come here on the Steelers Talk preview here, the first one of the year. My keys to victory versus the Jets for the black and gold. Then we'll get into my scouting report on Justin Fields. We should be pretty familiar with this game at this point, but just a little bit of a refresher. And then we'll get into my official Week 1 score prediction for your Pittsburgh Steelers here in Week 1 in the season opener. But before we get into the rest of today's show, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Prize Picks. And you and I both make decisions every single day, guys. What to wear in the morning to work, what to have for breakfast, all these different things. But on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. This week, it's Week 1, and you better believe I'll be getting my Prize Picks lineups in for the season opener on Thursday, all the way through Monday Night Football. Prize Picks is simple to play. You just pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks also puts their users first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Prize Picks also offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. And a new feature from Prize Picks that I love is injury reboots. If one of your players leaves the game with an injury in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks won't count it as a loss. Now, here is an example of a Prize Picks projection. This is actually my Prize Picks play for Thursday night in the season opener versus the Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to take the more, pretty much the free play on Dak Prescott passing yards. I'm going to take the more on receiving yards for George Pickens, the less on passing yards for Jalen Hurts, and the more on rushing yards for Saquon Barkley. You guys can download the Prize Picks app for free today. Sign up to get your play in before professional football action starts this week. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup on the Prize Picks app today. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup on Prize Picks today. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. So my first key to victory for the Pittsburgh Steelers in this football game is to load the box. I don't care if Alijah Vera-Tucker's hurt, guys. They're going to try and run the football. Okay, that is their identity with this team. They really only have one legitimate receiving weapon here in Garrett Wilson, and they've got a really good running back room. They got a rushing quarterback. They have made it abundantly clear they want to win on the ground, and they want to win with the run game. So the goal for the Steelers is to not let them do that. All right, so I don't think they'll play too much in their base formations. I do think we'll see it some with a 5 down front, but I think we're actually going to see a lot of big nickel packages from the Pittsburgh Steelers here, where you got Ramsey out there close to the line of scrimmage so that he can be a value as a run defender, all those different things. So I think we'll see a lot of big nickel from the Steelers defensively here, but they're going to load up the box. 7-8 players in there, and they're going to try to account for not only the running backs, but also Justin Fields in the run game. But then another thing here that you got to do is you got to double Garrett Wilson, in my opinion, all right? I'm just not scared of anybody else on this Jets passing attack. You got Wilson, but then you got Josh Reynolds, you've got Allen Lazard, you've got Maason Taylor, a rookie. Like, unless one of those guys really forces me to respect them, which I don't see happening, my plan to cover up Garrett Wilson would be to probably put Joey Porter Jr. on him and then have safety help over the top, probably Juan Thornhill there to support him, and just trying not to allow Justin Fields to get those easy completions to Garrett Wilson. Get those double coverages on him, force somebody else to beat you through the air. And then, speaking of Justin Fields, I think the Steelers need to get after him. With Alijah Vera-Tucker out of this thing, this offensive line takes a big step downward, in my opinion, and this Steelers pass rush should be really, really fantastic, in my opinion, guys. You take a look at Justin Fields and his scouting report. Now, we've talked about Fields quite a bit on this channel, especially during the free agency period while we were discussing what the Steelers were going to do at the quarterback position. But to keep it concise, he's got great size. He's got incredible strength as a rusher, but he's also got incredible speed as well, can juke on a dime. Like, he's one of the best rushers at the quarterback position that I've ever seen, guys, and he's got a really great arm that can, throw it to anywhere you want on the field theoretically, but the mental processing is so slow. He hangs on to the ball forever. He doesn't have good pocket presence. He takes a lot of sacks. He doesn't play within rhythm. He takes forever to get through his progressions, and then frankly, the accuracy isn't fantastic either. He doesn't have consistent footwork. He doesn't have really good upper body mechanics either, in my opinion. He's got a very elbowy, long throwing motion, in my opinion. So because of all those things, I rank him 29th among starters right now. We'll see if he continues to develop in New York as a passer, but heading into the season here, I think the main thing for the Steelers needs to be to contain his rushing abilities, and I expect to see a lot of quote-unquote dog blitzes is what the Steelers like to call them. Mike Tomlin has a plan to stop rushing quarterbacks, and it usually involves a lot of man coverage with single high coverage at the top, and I expect to see something similar to this. Now, obviously, it's the Madden version, super dumbed-down version of what you can expect to see from the Steelers, who are probably going to run a lot of stunts and all these different things that they like to run, but I do expect, 5 down fronts at some points, maybe Jalen Ramsey getting in on some nickel blitzes, but 5-man pressures, alleviating any run lanes, because I don't know if you guys know this, but if you only rush with 4 guys, there's at least going to be 1 rush lane open for the quarterback to take advantage of. Mike Tomlin, against rushing quarterbacks, likes to rush 5 to plug up all those holes and contain the quarterback inside the pocket. And certainly this team has the coverage ability on the back end with the corners and the safeties that they have in the secondary to hold up against this New York Jets wide receiver room in man coverage. So expect to see a lot of stuff like this on Sunday in terms of the defensive coverages. And essentially what you need to do if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers is force Justin Fields to beat you with his arm. Force him to pick apart man coverage and identify which matchups are the right ones and then deliver on time and on target. And, frankly, it's going to be tough to go up against the Steelers playing man coverage this year anyways, because this is such a good pass rush and this is such a good secondary that you really need to be on your P's and Q's as a passer to beat this Steelers defense this year. But for a guy like Fields who struggles to pass against any coverages and against any defenses, let alone this defense, I don't think it's going to be a good week for number 7. And then, another thing that I think that you need to do here, shifting over to the offensive side of the ball, is you got to impose your run game if you are the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that your advantage over the Jets, especially if Sauce Gardner plays, is the lack of size that the New York Jets have in their front 7. So what I would do, play a lot of 13 personnel, which means 3 tight ends, play a lot of 12 personnel with 2 tight ends, and just try and just play bully ball against this smaller New York Jets defense. They're not built to play kind of bigger bully ball style of defense there in New York. They want to play smaller. They want to play in nickel, and, frankly, the Pittsburgh Steelers want to play the opposite of that. So I really like the matchup here. I think Jaylen Warren is going to have a really good first game of the season here. And I think that Darnell Washington, being essentially a 6th offensive lineman, is going to create a huge, huge mismatch in the run game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, when it comes to pass protection on the offensive line, the big thing is to hold up on the edges there at offensive tackle. Obviously, there's some big question marks on the Steelers roster here at the offensive tackle position. Lots of potential and a lot of talent. Broderick Jones and Troy Fautanu. A lot of question marks surrounding those guys heading into the year, especially now going up against a legitimate potential top 10 pass rusher in Will McDonald. At least that was the way he was playing down the stretch last year. That's going to be a hell of a test for Broderick here in week 1. And then Jermaine Johnson, he is coming off an injury, but, when he's healthy, he's a hell of a player too. So, this young offensive tackle duo is going to be tested here in week 1. I'm going to be looking forward to seeing what these 2 guys can do against legitimate competition. And then when it comes to the passing game, guys, it can't just be DK Metcalf. Now, maybe if Sauce Gardner isn't out there, maybe it can be just DK Metcalf, but I'm assuming Sauce Gardner will find a way to be out there on the field. It's not going to be just the DK show, in my opinion. I do expect, somewhat. I don't expect a big game from DK Metcalf if Sauce Gardner is going to be out there. And they're probably going to be double covering DK Metcalf because kind of similarly to the Steelers' plan, they're going to try and make Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin III beat them outside of DK Metcalf, who's that true number 1 threat. So I would expect Sauce Gardner to be covering DK Metcalf wherever he lines up, and then I expect safety help over the top. So I think that the Jets' game plan is going to be very similar to the Steelers, where they're going to be doubling DK for most of this game, which means I think that the tight ends are going to have an opportunity to really show the league what this team and this tight end room can do. I mean, Aaron Rodgers said this week, guys, that he thinks this is the best tight end room he has ever played with, and that includes Connor Hayward, by the way. But I really do think Jonnu Smith and Pat Freiermuth, they're going to show the world what they can do as receiving threats here this week. But then also look for Roman Wilson and Calvin Austin III to have some opportunities for some deep shots. I think they're going to probably double cover DK Metcalf for a big portion of this football game, which is going to open up one-on-one opportunities to hit Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin III on post routes, and certain concepts there. So definitely looking forward to seeing what these 2 speedsters can do. And my guess is we'll see at least one 30 or 40, maybe in 50-yard touchdown from Roman Wilson or Calvin Austin III in this game. I really feel like this is a good matchup for them. But then just generally speaking here, guys, I don't think the Steelers can beat themselves. I think that, whether or not Sauce is out there or not, this Steelers team is just better than the Jets team overall, okay? So if the Steelers can limit penalties, if they can limit turnovers, if they don't, beat themselves essentially and allow the Jets to stay in this ball game late into it, then I think the Steelers should absolutely come away with the victory. And if it is close late, then just make the play late. And I think that this is something that is very realistic here because Aaron Rodgers has been in these situations time and time again. He's got dozens of fourth quarter comebacks and game-winning drives in his career versus Justin Fields, who's been arguably the worst fourth-quarter quarterback in the NFL since he was drafted. So I have a high level of confidence this week in the Pittsburgh Steelers, guys. I'm going to go with the black and gold to win their season opener 23-3. Pretty convincing 3-score victory here. I don't think it'll be perfect specifically for the offense in this game. Do think there'll be some hiccups here and there, but I think that we're going to see some explosive plays. I think we're going to see a big play over the top, at least one to either Roman Wilson or Calvin Austin III. We'll see if Sauce Gardner is out there. This score probably changes if he's not. But on defense, I'm not sure if the Jets will score a point. All right, I'm just being generous right now, giving them 3 points. But it's supposed to be raining. Justin Fields is not a great passer of the football, and I think the Steelers are built to stop the run game that the Jets want to have, and I just don't know if they have the horses up front to win that line of scrimmage battle, especially with Vera-Tucker out. So I think that this one is going to be pretty convincing. Steelers win, and Aaron Rodgers gets his revenge over the New York Jets. So it's your turn. Let me know down there in the comment section. Predict the score of Steelers versus Jets. I got 23-3. Pittsburgh wins. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. And that will conclude our first weekly preview for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. I'm going to be doing an in-depth preview just like this one every single game for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. And of course, remember guys, we're going to be going live on Sunday for our live watch party, an hour and a half of live pregame coverage followed by live play-by-play during the game itself, where we react to everything that happens in this football game. And then we got our extensive post-game coverage as well. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers.